Just like the car, too, most women believe that they hold the same value as a woman with actual, what is that? Chastity and what is that? Virtuous car 1. Why would a man, I did not read that fast enough, I'm sorry.
Would want a car 2 over 1.
I'll pull it back up.
Just like car 2, most women believe that they could hold the same value as a woman with the actual chastity and virtuous car 1. Why would a man want car 2 over car 1?
Okay, so I actually would like to answer that, just because there are some cars, like especially the more vintage cars, for example, they've been, around like for a while, and they would sit in the garage for, a few years, but it's like they have not put the test of actually like that they're reliable, that they wouldn't break. And there are a few cars, like for example, there's a Jaguars, like a few Jaguars, like where they're just not made to begin with reliable. So you would want a car with a few more miles on it, just to make sure that it wouldn't just break apart, like 100, 200 miles in. However, which is why it's completely weird to compare cars to women, because cars are made by, all these different people, all these different components that are playing part to it, and women, they're human beings.
He's clearly talking about women.
Well, yes, I know that.
Clearly.
I know that he's clearly talking about women, which is why, like, I don't think that that's a
good
fair
analogy.
comparison.
Yeah, you don't think that's a
all.
good analogy?
Like in any way, just because again, cars are they're machines, and they're made they're very technical, and women again, it's a whole different aspect. Like you can't compare like an inanimate made object with a human being.
I think it's an interesting comparison. I'm not going to say that I like it, but I think it's very interesting because when it comes to relationships, like as a woman or a man, I think that as a woman going into a relationship, knowing who you are and who you are as a romantic partner, whether that be sexually, your communication styles, I think knowing those things are so important when seeing how compatible you can be with someone.
But what does that have to do with the car?
It doesn't have anything to do with the car, but we know the comparison that the person in the chat is making.
Yeah, obvious, but it's like
so. Like
again,
I think
like,
that
I
in a way,
don't
that's like
see
that.
how
I
that
think
has-
that's why
because a car doesn't know itself.
I think that's why someone would pick car 2.
What mileage?
The car with the more mileage is they know a bit about more themselves. And then when
And
you go
they're,
into
like,
a
more
relationship,
reliable.
it's kind of hard, in my opinion, when it's someone's first relationship.
I agree.
They lack that experience of communication, being with someone intellectually, sometimes physically.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're doing. Everything's new. And so I feel like relationships in a way are trial and error, because it's very seldom that two people get together and it's their first relationship ever and they're together forever. When it does work like that, when there's high school sweethearts, that's fabulous. I'm so happy for them.
My grandparents.
But it's very rare.
But yeah, it's very rare.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
I think, Alex, that you're looking at this in the wrong way, right? The wrong dynamic. You're kind of taking it and viewing it through a feminine perspective, kind of over and over again, right? Oh, you can't compare women to cars. You can't. Okay, so take yourself out of that for a second and put yourself in the male's perspective. So from the male perspective, shit works or it don't work. That's how we think of everything, right? Does this shit work? Yep, it works, great, right? That's how we think of everything. So how we think of step 2 is, when is this thing that works not going to work, right? So that this would go to the car analogy, right? So if it's got 200,000 miles, we know it's not going to work at 400,000 miles, right? But we're taking the same mechanical brain and we're applying it to women, and we're like, okay, does this woman work if she has a lot more, or does she work if she has a lot less, right? Does it work for us or does it not work for us? Very simple, right? It actually is a fine comparison, because the idea is just, does it work, does it not work? Is this going to work or is this not going to work?
So I do agree with you that I am looking at it like from a more kind of, as you said, the feminine perspective, that's like you can't compare a car to a woman. However, to be fair, the actual car thing and whether or not it would work, I did get from a man, and he would choose a car that has way more miles and that is proven to be reliable versus a car that has been sitting in the garage with 0 miles, because you can buy a car, especially from the comment where it says
right?
100K,
hang on,
but it's like you wouldn't know if it would
you already
work.
messed it all up, Alex. You already messed it all up because you tried to kind of sneak in. You kind of tried to sneak in a new premise, which is he would take the car that has a proven track record of at X amount of miles still being reliable, right? Okay, let's take that little sneaky part out of there, and we're just comparing 2 random cars to a man. And you tell the man, okay, you like both these cars. This one has 200,000 miles. This one has no miles. All right, his mechanical brain's going to say what? It's going to say, okay, well, if this one has 200,000 miles on it, then I want the one that has less mileage because it's going to probably work for longer, right? You can give him no other information than just that.
Okay.
And that's likely what he's going to say, right?
Okay, so I do feel like perhaps, but then again, you're very generalizing, because just like cars, relationships are very different and very person specific, because some people love brand new cars, but some people prefer vintage cars. So it's like, I don't know.
Buddy,
like
okay,
I understand what you're saying, but I don't see how it's comparison.
Prefer vintage cars with less miles or more miles?
More miles, because again, it proves reliability.
It would be so the vintage car with less miles is going to be worth way more money and it's going to be way more reliable. What are you talking about?
Because okay, so if the vintage car has 0 miles on it, it has not proven that it would work, and the actual parts, like to replace it, would be way more expensive than a car that has actually been proven that it is working. Like all the parts are going together.
Why would the parts be more expensive to replace on a low mileage vintage vehicle?
Okay, I did kind of misspoke a little bit. It's more about like, because it has not actually been driven out, it has not actually been tried, there is a chance that it would break, especially since it has not been, like running for a few years, like it's just been sitting in the garage.
Yeah, there'd be less. Okay, but if it was a 200,000 or 300,000 mile vehicle and it was sitting in the garage for the same amount of time, it would have a worse chance of starting than the vehicle that had 50,000 miles on it. Like, what do you mean? This makes no sense.
So I actually agree, which is why I said, like, if it has like 1,000 miles, that would be a great indicator. And again, we're just talking about cars at this point. It's specifically the 0 miles vintage car that's been sitting in the garage.
You mean the thing that every man who loved vintage cars would want more than anything else?
It would depend.
The car with 0 miles on an original engine. Hang on the original engine, the original body, the original everything has 0 miles. That's the car they're going to take out knives and kill each other over, rather than let somebody buy it out from under them.
And then they would put it back in the garage and not do anything with it, because it's a vintage car. However, the people who actually want to drive the car...
they're going to drive. What do you mean?
Because it could break.
You know why they want the vintage car?
Because they have no idea how it's going to work. It has no reliability. They want the 0 mile vintage car because they want to be the first person to press on that gas pedal and then it's going to break 20 miles in.
Vroom, vroom, baby! I was the first one in this vintage car to make it go vroom.
Yeah, right? And then it's going to break 20 miles in. So it's like, you don't know what a vintage car...
Why did it break 20 miles in?
Because a lot of vintage cars do that. A lot of vintage cars do break very fast once they were sitting in the garage for 20, 30 years.
Vintage cars with higher miles on them, though. So I don't even understand what your argument is here.
If they were sitting in the garage for a while, yes, all the cars would break. I'm just going to say that. I agree with you on there. If the car was sitting in the garage. However, if the car was actually been driven throughout, those, 20, 30, like 200,000 miles, and it does not have any, like track record, like, and was actually checked properly this entire time, throughout all the years, then it has the reliability, like points to it, because it has not broken, and it means it was put together very well and in a craftsmanship like way. However, there are some cars that were made in the past that just didn't have that point.
Are you smoking methamphetamine right now?
No.
Like that? Okay. This makes zero sense. I'm gonna
if you say
I'm
so.
going to reiterate back to you what you just said. Classic car has the same engine, same body, same everything as the other
There's no such thing as the
car.
same when it's put together by different people.
My turn, Alex. Calm down. Has the same everything as the other car, except it has 0 miles. You're saying your argument here is, well, the one with 300,000 miles has been proven to have driven. Yeah, so what? The likelihood of the one with 0 miles being able to get a lot more life out of that car, it's like 1,000% better, right? It's like 1,000% better.
Okay,
everybody wants the classic car with 0 miles because they want to be the first person to put the very first mile on the car.
Are you a car guy?
You know why they want to do that? Hang on, my turn. Wait a second. You know why they want to do that? They want to do it just for the hell of it. They want to be like, I did it. I was the first. I put the first mile on this car. Nobody else put a mile on this car except this guy. They love that shit.
Just Gerald donated $200. Jesus. We'd rather be inside a car that's never been driven over a car that's driven by 30 people. Ergo, we'd rather be inside a woman who no one's been inside of than a woman who's had 30 men inside.
Okay, Andrew, are you a car guy?
I'm never taking you to an auto auction. You'd be like, I want to pay $1 million for that car over there that has 300,000 miles on it because, after all, it's proven that it drives down the road. Like, what kind of logic is this?
Do you go to a lot of vintage car shows?
Okay, hold on.
I think we're like stippling away from like the concept.
I completely agree, which is why
It's my
I don't
rant,
think
and
that
I'll take it where I want to take it.
Okay,
Anyway,
which is why I disagree that a car analogy and a woman analogy is it does not actually fit, because there's different.
Do you know what an
aspects
analogy
to it.
is?
Well, if she has 0 miles on her, and then y'all will just complain that she's a pillow princess because she doesn't know what she's doing.
Oh boy.
You do, though, Alex, agree that a man, like men in general, they do want women who have less baggage.
I completely
less body
agree
count.
with that.
I kept thinking of Q and like, you're the first one to put those miles on those girls. You know what I mean?
And
so
I
I'm
completely
thinking
agree with
like,
that
okay,
concept.
what ended up happening though for that lady who you said she thanked you, I think we can all agree there are men out there who are going to accept that. Like, you know what?
Absolutely.
Yeah, she has some miles, but at the end of the day, the miles are on there doesn't mean it's a good car.
No, it doesn't mean it's a good car. However, again, like, do you go to a lot of the vintage car shows?
No.
Do you, Andrew, go to a lot of the vintage car shows?
Not a lot, but I've been to a
Okay,
couple.
see, I have been to a lot of vintage car
What did I
shows.
say that? What did I
Does
say?
that
What-
happen?
hang on.
Yeah,
Let me
again,
back what I said.
which is why I think it's a
I don't
bad
go to a
analogy.
lot, but I've been to them.
Yeah.
Yes,
and-
I've been to them.
Okay. Fine. And I've been to a lot of vintage car shows. So it's like, I don't know.
Nobody
I
at the
think so.
vintage car shows you're going to is not competing over the lowest mile vintage cars. That's
Okay,
insane.
we're talking about 0 miles, and again,
Yeah,
I've
zero,
said a
zero.
perfect mileage is
I have
about
an original
1,000
Roadrunner.
miles. So
I have an
I
original
don't agree.
Roadrunner with 0 miles. Oh, I don't want that one, Paul. Said no vintage car ever. Nobody's ever said that. in the
Yeah,
history
because
of
it's going to
mankind.
continue sitting in the garage. It's not going to be driven.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll drive it. They'll drive it just to put the first mile on it. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
That's
exactly,
every
just the
vintage,
first
that's
mile.
every vintage buyer's dream. It's like buying a vintage gun that's
like,
never been fired
okay.
once. The first thing you're going to do is take that out of the box and go shoot it. That's how it works.
So what you're saying is a vintage car, just like a virgin woman, let's say, you would just want to kind of have her, just like the car, sit in the garage and not really, go for a drive and be reliable?
Because you'd want to her. That's what I'm saying. I think you'd want her because you'd want to take her for a spin. I think you'd want her because
And
you'd want to
gonna
have
break
sex with her
200
a lot
miles
and
in,
not
okay.
put her in the garage. That's what I think. But what do I know?
Okay.
You know, what do I know?
As long
kinda
as
crazy.
someone buys a car, I think everyone can have different opinions, but I think like I feel like, are you talking about a physical car? Because I think we're talking about relationships and like
Yes, I know.
experience.
Which I agree on the relationship and the experience part, but it's like, again, I don't agree with the car part. I think
it was never about the car.
That's it.
Yeah, it was never about the car.
I know it's not about the car, but I don't think it should be about the car at all.
Yeah, I think
I
get
not.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with the relationship and the women part of it, and that women, and that man would want somebody with less, miles on it, whatever. But the car thing just does not make sense to me.
Okay. Anyways, we're all going to get a car one day or another. What's the next question?
Yes, they want them to go vroom. They want them to go vroom. They want the car to go vroom. They want the chick to go vroom. They want the gun to go boom.
I'm sure you do.
That's what they want. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but that's what they all want.
Yeah, and any car would go
all
vroom,
right. You've had... Okay. All right. Crazy Ace, thank you for the gift of 10 subs. We have 2 chats we got to read. I'll have you read them for us. They're going to come up here in just a sec. Ace, thank you for the gifted 10 subs. Appreciate it.
Devon Jackson donated $200. I would argue the only thing more sexual experience on a woman does is make her know what she wants the man to do for her in the bedroom. It doesn't make her more considerate of what a man needs.
That's a good point. I
think it's a good point, but I also think that more relationships, in a way, put sex aside. More relationships can help a woman know what she needs from a man and what a man might need.
My experiences definitely, I agree with you. My experiences definitely helped me be a better person for a man in the long run.
I know it works with men in general and what doesn't. Obviously, every man is specific and has specific needs, but as women, men, people, we all have basic needs when it comes to like the connection
But
aspect.
there's this video game term called diminishing returns. So, for example, in World of Warcraft, if you have like a snare, if there's a snare or like a root, you can't just constantly have somebody frozen in like an ice nova. Like eventually they're gonna, or you can't just keep stunning them. Like you can't stun lock somebody permanently. Like there's gonna be diminishing returns on stuns, snares, roots, all this stuff, right? Freeze. And so
you got to compensate for cooldowns, AOCs, the whole 9.
All that stuff. Area of effect, AOE, all that stuff, right? So there's diminishing returns in video games. So at what point with a woman do you start getting diminishing returns when it comes to her the more relationship or sexual experience she's had? At what point does it stop? I don't even know if perhaps there's some benefits, but I don't know. I think, as a guy, you could take a girl who's never been in a relationship or who's a virgin. You can have great sex with her if you know how to lead. You can have a great relationship with her if you know how to lead. Even if she's not had any experience, you say, well, I'll know what to do better. Or as the guy, I could just say, this is what I need you to do. And if you're submissive and you're willing to follow my lead, we'll have a good relationship.
Like a mold aspect, like being able to mold and tailor that person to you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's what happened with me and my baby daddy.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. I think that there's definitely 2 sides to it of having a lot of relationship experience, because sometimes you can say you've had 10 relationships and they've all been over a year long and you learned them and whatnot, and then you go into a new one and then you try to put all these other relationship experiences onto them of, oh, well, this guy didn't like this, so I shouldn't do this, so this, and you're not listening to him or taking them into account. So I think molding in a way needs to happen to both people in every relationship for it to be successful.
I agree. Q, do you want to respond to, I don't know if you want me to pull it back up?
You can pull it up. Q, they will all be whores for the right man. You said you had 5,000 women in your DMs. The difference is I say yes, you turn them down. The women are the same. Give them what they want. Nah, I got standards. I ain't gonna fuck every woman just because she in my DM. And I don't just believe in guys who say they fucked X amount of women on the internet either.
Well, Paladins, thank you. We have 2 super chats here. Can I have you read these two? Thank you, the Gold Eagle 99. Thank you.
Well, Q, what conflicts are we talking about exactly? You do realize your contribute to the problem is doing that within the mating market in America. I'm not mad at you. You're a heterosexual guy.
Heterosexual.
Sorry.
That's
How dare you?
But just own it.
Heterosexual.
He has, that's going to be on his new Twitter bio.
Hatersexual. Wait, I'm going to change the title of the video to include hatersexual. Let's see. Q, do you want to respond to that?
I don't see the world through your perspective. If taking 2 girls' virginity contribute to the world's problems, the dating market problems, you might need to be more concerned with what else is going on. I don't know how you came to that conclusion.
All right. And then can I have you read this one?
Maybe this will make more sense to you. Platinum credit card, virgin woman with high body counts, 250 credit card.
I guess they were trying to say card.
And woman control access to sex. You are diminishing your value with each guy you've had sex with outside a marriage / long-term relationship.
So hang on. So let me phrase this out the way he means it.
Mm-hmm.
Please.
If you had a credit card that had a $20,000 limit on it, would you prefer that it had $0 on it or $10,000 on it?
10,000.
You would prefer it had 10,000 on it.
Limit, yeah, a 10,000 limit.
No. It has a $20,000 limit.
Or
right?
a $20,000 limit.
Yeah, if it had a $20,000 limit, would you prefer that it had $0 put on the card or $10,000 already put on the card?
Well, of course, $0 put on the card.
Yeah, $0, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But again, that's a whole different comparison.
I like that.
Like, I don't know why we have to compare women to inanimate objects.
Oh, it's an analogy.
Well, we're not. Okay,
I know, I understand it's an analogy, but it's like, it just...
This is a very feminine way to look at
me.
things, right? You're only looking at things through the prism of you, right? You're only looking through things through the prism of the woman. So, the whole purpose of this podcast is to show it from both angles, right? Here's how women tend to think about these things. Here's how men tend to think about these things.
Yeah, so you are sharing your opinion and I'm sharing mine, and then the viewers can make their own opinions based on the women's perspective and the men's perspective. Isn't that right?
Yeah, they can. Yeah. Absolutely. But what I'm saying is I try to put myself in the shoes, right? The opposite person's shoes to see it from their perspective.
Do you?
Right? So yeah, I do it all the time. Why do you think that I logically beat the hell out of you all the time? It's because I put myself in your worldview. And
so you
I
bring up Santa Claus because you want to put... Okay.
Hang on, before you start spurging out. It's because I put myself in your worldview, and then I logically think it to the end and go, wow, that's really stupid. That's why I'm able to do that. So yes, I do think of it from your worldview, and I think of it from my worldview. So
okay, if you say so.
Yeah.
Because I have agreed with a lot of the male perspectives, quite a lot, and I have mentioned that. However, I have not seen you agreeing with the women's perspective once. So I'm just pointing that out. That's all I'm going to say.
What perspectives?
Any woman's perspective. I've never seen you agreeing with any women at all. You always argue.
I agree with them on all sorts of things.
Okay, like what? Because I've just not seen it.
Well, I can give you multiple examples.
Please.
So one example is there's many women who come on here who are religious, especially some of the trad-cath women. They have great takes, I think, when it comes to the dating market. I've talked to women on here who are mothers who I think had really good takes about how to rear children. There have been many women on here who have discussed the dangers of OnlyFans and sex work, prostitution, things like this, that I've been in mass agreement with, looking at it from their perspective and my perspective. In fact, I would say that I agree with somewhere around 60-70% of the takes that women have. The things that go viral are the takes that I disagree with.
So I don't necessarily watch the viral stuff. I actually watch the podcasts and kind of go to where you're, specifically agreeing or disagreeing. And I personally just not necessarily seen you agree with a lot of the women's perspective. However, everything that you've just mentioned, those are also your personal opinions as well.
Here's an example right now tonight. This gal, Maddie, I think it's Maddie, that's you in the red shirt.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have my notes here. Please forgive me.
No worries.
I try to write everybody's names down to make sure, right? So, Maddie said, Andrew's using a loaded term. I have it right here in my notes. He's using virtue as a loaded term. Very first thing I said, I agreed with her and said, I agree with you that the term is loaded. Very first thing I said to her. Is that correct?
Leave it.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah. Okay. So you've agreed that virtue is a loaded term, but then you still continue to use it. So, okay, I'm going to give you that.
No,
You do not disagree with
that's not what
everything.
happened. Not what happened. What happened was I said, I agree with you, it's a loaded term, but I think perhaps you and I are using it the same. But if not, let me give you a descriptor for what I mean.
I remember. I was here. But it's like,
Am
again,
I way off base here, Maddie?
Yeah, no, he's correct.
Yeah, no, I do agree, and I've agreed with the both of you too.
Okay.
Yeah.
He agreed.
Really? Because a second ago it was, I haven't seen you agree with a single thing a woman has said on this panel all night. And now suddenly it's, well, I agree with you.
You don't need to mock me.
He really is quite nice and agrees with everything they say. So it's like, maybe we can get a good, clear answer out of you. And maybe you're just coping, right? Maybe just coping a little bit.
So the first thing Andrew agreed on was that we were using the term virtue is a loaded term.
Yes.
And then we both went into clarification mode and said what we meant between like faking virtue and then and what
I
else
was
not.
a part of that.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah.
And so he agreed on multiple counts. Like, okay, and then you said that he agrees with, like, you said trad wives, trad Catholic women. Mm-hmm. And then that you said that he shares, those are opinions that he shares. Yeah. If he shares his opinions with those women, then of course he's going to agree.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of my point. I will take back that you completely disagree with every single woman. I will take that back. My apologies. However, you don't actually take any other person's perspectives and how they live their lives outside of your own personal opinions. And that's kind of is my overall point. So,
just me agreeing that there could be a term which is being used that is loaded, right, is me literally instantly giving an olive branch and saying, I understand your perspective here. Let's clarify it so that you understand what I'm saying and I understand what you're saying.
And that was excellent. That was very...
That's an idea. So this is the idea of common...
Nice
hang on a second. This is the idea of us finding common ground so I can see the viewpoint. But me just having to agree or like... kissing your ass on everything you say is insane, right?
You never
if you say something stupid, I'm going to tell you it's stupid. But if you say something which I think is very sharp-witted, or something I agree with, I'll be the first one to say she's absolutely right, and here's why. What you're doing right now is what I like to call pure, unadulterated cope. It's pure cope. I gave you an example in real time. It was backed up by another woman on the panel. Right? And you just lost the exchange, right? Just lost the exchange. Just take the L.
Okay, I'm sorry. Like, where did I disagree with the woman on the panel just now?
You literally got done saying you never agree with anything any of these women say. And then I gave you an example, even up tonight in real time.
And I took that back and apologized.
We haven't even had that many discussions. By the way, I haven't even had an opportunity tonight to agree or disagree with very many women on the panel because you've been bogarting all the time, as usual.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe Brian shouldn't have asked me then to be here, so.
Okay, I'm just going to move it on then. Just really quick, Dragon's Talon, I didn't get to thank you for your super chat. Dragon's Talon, thank you for the super chat, man. Really appreciate it. Haven't seen you in the chat for a while, man, so good to have you back, and thank you for I do believe we read this one, correct? Yeah. Thank you, Dragon's Talon. Appreciate it. If you guys want, get in a TTS, $200 TTS. Read is $100. All right, so let me get into a couple things here. I did have a quick question. I meant to ask this at the beginning of the show, just not dating related. I was just curious about it because I saw it. Would you save your family if it meant the rest of the world had to perish? So do you pick the world? So when I say that, everybody else dies, but your family is saved? Or do you save the world, but your family is dead? Which do you pick?
It's kind of hard because I don't talk to like half of my family. but then like my mom's side. So I think I would stay with family.
You'd say family?
Yeah, family.
Okay.
I don't think just me and my family would know how to like continue life on Earth. You know, like, because if we're destroying everybody else, it's just me and my tribe. So
Yeah.
I'd rather have the rest of the world live and continue.
And y'all wiped out? Okay.
Yeah.
I love my family more than it'd be more than humanly possible, but I would pick save the world for sure.
By the way, when I say save the world, like the Earth, it's not like the Earth explodes. It's just everybody else dies.
Yeah.
Well, I would say my family because honestly, if the rest of the world goes, like eventually life will come back.
I'd pick the world. I'd save the world.
I would also save the world. Like, it makes no sense for just one family to be on the entire planet.
Can I say the world, but can I be dead first? Please. I don't want to see my family. Like, I'm just thinking about it in a logical aspect of, like, you need the world, like, the economy and everything moves with other people. Like, I think it's selfish for me to want to pick my family. But I do think my family's life shouldn't be dependent on me. Anyways, I'm going to just,
Chat, what do you think? Q, what do you think?
Saving the world.
Anissa, what do you pick?
Probably the world.
Okay. I don't know. I would have to think about this because it's a bit of a moral dilemma.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer actually, but I want to think about it more. Andrew?
I think I would save my family.
Aw, respect.
Yo, Crazy Ace, thank you for the gifted 10 subs.
And by the way, I also think that's the wrong answer. That's the immoral answer. I think the correct answer is that you would, save everybody else except you and your family. But if you're asking me to actually put myself in the situation, Andrew, what would you actually do? There's two buttons in front of you. One, everybody in your family is annihilated forever. Button two, the entire rest of the world is. You fuckers gotta go.
I actually respect you for acknowledging that. That's very, that's.
I think that's pretty close to my position, my position on this. Well put, Andrew. And let's see. Let's get to. Oh, I did want to go kind of back to everyone's relationship status really quick. Do you have or have you ever had a roster? Do you have a roster?
Right now?
Yeah.
No, maybe just like one person or two.
Currently.
Yeah, currently.
Yeah, because you said you've been single, right? But I mean, so you are.
I like to talk to people.
By talk, do you mean?
Well, one lives kind of far away.
Sex or what?
One lives far away.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
I met him one time.
Okay.
But
Can I hang on real quick? I'm sorry to cut in. I was just thinking about because you blindsided me with this question, right? But now I gotta dive just a little bit, if you'll humor me, just for a second. So I actually am not sure you can trust a man who doesn't say my family. Now that I think about it, because it's the entire idea of I think how you would trust another man is that they put the virtue of their family before anything else, and that you as another man know that. And this is how we create barriers as men between each other, right? We don't cross certain thresholds which involve other men's families, this type of thing. That's how we create the universal respect and aspect of barriers between each other. So I think ultimately, I think I would trust a man less if he said the world.
I can't.
Just saying.
Wait, Andrew.
It's
wait,
fine.
this just came to me. It might be the most toaster brain take ever, but so I think I talked to Chase about this a while back. But so, do you think that Jesus will come back?
Yes.
Do you think he's currently alive, right now, or not yet?
Yeah, he's alive. Correct.
So, would this?
He was resurrected and he never died.
But would this, in this scenario, entail because he would resurrect as an actual man, right?
And he's already been resurrected, so he's alive right now.
But in human form.
He can incarnate it in human form.
Is he incarnated in human form?
I don't actually. I would have to actually ask on that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I haven't thought about that before.
Because isn't it? Don't they say that the Antichrist is currently walking?
Yeah, I
around?
think he would return in human form. Yes.
Okay. So, but if he was in human form, and you chose the world, wouldn't you know what I mean?
Are you talking about the rapture?
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. No.
Jesus.
I agree with you that this could be a violation of Christian ethics. I've never actually thought about the question before. The only thing that I thought about when he asked the question is, Andrew, what actually would you do? Right? You, as the person you are right now, like I know how I am, right? What would you actually do in this situation if these two buttons were posed to you? Well, you're all gone, right? And only those with the genetic lineage of Wilson shall repopulate the earth, and that's it, right? That's the way that I see it. That's the only way that I would see it. Put in that situation. I mean, now these hypotheticals are designed specifically for this, right? To test your morals, test your logic, see what you would actually do. This is not a question which has ever been posed to me before, so I've never actually thought about it. But I think that that's what I would do, and what the implications of that are, I have no idea yet, right?
Right. Yeah, just
I chose the world because, one, I don't have a family in the sense of a wife and kids, and ultimately, if it's just my family that's left, we're not going to repopulate the earth, not without incest. And then my mother's going to pass away, my grandparents are going to pass away, and then I'm going to be left alone regardless, with no one to mate with or repopulate the earth on my own. So, that's just the risk that I would be willing to take.
I think in this example, if you pick family, it includes, like, you die too. I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
okay. I don't know if that changes anything, but
so this is like you also hit me on one of the theological topics that I'm the worst at, which is eschatology. I tend to stay away from eschatology, and so I don't really dive into it very much.
Yeah.
So there's I would talk to like an ortho priest or somebody like this for answers on eschatology. Sure. I'm not that guy.
I apologize. Could you possibly explain what that is? Just so I can be on track. Because I'm not sure what that is.
It's the study of the Eskels.
What's Eskels? I'm sorry. Okay, if you don't want to go there, I'm not going.
I understand. You don't understand, but I don't think it's.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Worth.
That's fine.
Anyways,
I will drop it.
So going back to the roster.